Hi, Dr. Green. How are you?
Again, I am not Monica Harris. Most of you know that I am not. I am not the chair. I am the vice chair. Monica, for some reason, was not available at this time. So good afternoon, and thank you so much for you joining the meeting today. The May 30th Bylaws Committee meeting is now called to order. Nick, will you please call the roll to confirm?
Certainly. Chair Monica Williams Harris.
I'm available. I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair John Green. Director Sean Bryant Abney. Director Elaine Armster. Director Terry Arnold.
I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Kenneth Neighbors.
Present.
Director Ebenezer Oriaku.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
We can't hear virtually. If anybody's talking, we're not able to hear.
On. Well, if I flip it off, just let me know. I have a flipping disease. Thank you very much. But the minutes from the March the 19th, 2025 Bylaws Committee meeting were provided in advance for your review. I hope you had an opportunity to review them. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
So moved, Director Oriaku.
Second,
Director Arnold.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, all in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign.
Good afternoon. Yes, as it was stated, we circulated a red line version of the bylaws incorporating the changes that were voted on March 19th. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. If you have questions, please feel free to stop me and I'll try to respond accordingly. I will also add that in reviewing the bylaws, I made some additional changes. Most of them were typos, but there was a change that you had not discussed, but I think it was just a clarification of the existing bylaws. I'm going to just go to the pages that there were changes made on. The first amendment is on page 5, where it was suggested and approved that the section on conflicts and lousy of interest be stricken from the bylaws and added to the policies and procedures. The next amendment was on page 6, and this was just a clarification where I added and approved. There's, as far as nominations, that anybody nominated to the board had to be approved by the Board of Trustees. The next amendment was on page 6. One was just a clarification, also of the Board of Trustees having approval of being elected or elected. The next section was to, then this was a big issue as far as there being a grandfather, that people on the board this time be grandfathered in. That was changed to clarify that those board members' terms, whose initial term of service began before January 1, 2024, shall expire pursuant to the schedule of termination provided in the scheduled termination section. And this was added to the foundation policies and procedures. This was what the terms, as you all had agreed to, which will be in the schedule, in the policies and procedures. And as a formatting change, we also clarified that members placed by the, and a lot of these are real technical, but clarification, I should say. Adding are reelected to the board membership by a majority vote of all members of the board. So that would have to be anyone who was nominated or reelected. It can't be by a quorum. It has to be by a majority of all the board members. The next change was on page 9. Where this was clarified that one of the criteria for being renominated to the board was your responsiveness and commitment, including financial commitments and existing members' satisfactions of get annual commission. I can't see commitments. It wasn't clear that you as board members, if you're going to be renominated, you had to have met your get annual commitment. The next change was on page 9, where we changed the designation of ex officio membership. The chief financial officer of the university was changed, as was the director of alumni affairs. And we added university provost and vice president for academic affairs as ex officio members of the board. That's on, yes. And we added on page 10 that the university chief financial officer and the executive director of the university alumni affairs are representatives to the board and may participate in discussions but should not be entitled to vote with the full board on board members. I'm sorry. Nick just brought to my attention that the provost should be also a representative to the board. This is not drafted that way. So that would be a change. So it would be the university chief financial officer, the executive director of the university office of alumni affairs, and the provost shall be representatives to the board. Bill should not be entitled to vote. The next change, and this was something that was the consultant suggested that we drop any definition of the president's responsibilities. In reading it, I think that would be a mistake. So I struck the president of the university should have the powers and duties of presidents of a state university in Florida. But left in regards to the foundation, The University President's power and duties include, but are not limited to the following: monitor and control the use of university resources by the foundation, and the rest of the section, I think, goes A through G. Well, no, I'm sorry, A through H. I thought it was appropriate that saying the bylaws, it's not consistent with what the consultant had suggested. As far as emeritus board members, because you will roll off, a member of the board will roll off in 8 years. I changed this from you would be entitled to emeritus board members after 8 years as opposed to 10 years. And added that the persons may be nominated by members of the board, reviewed and nominated by the Board of Governance and Stewardship Committee, and voted upon by the full board. That was that. I think it was just something that was understood, but not specified. The next section was on page 12, and this was just a clarification typo, or as we call them, nitpicking. The next section was on page 13, and we did a strike through pursuant to the consultants concerning the sunshine law that will be moved to the policies and procedures. The next section was about removal if you had, that is, members of the board, had more than 2 unexcused absences in a 2-year period. Unexcused absences may only be granted by the chair. Any director exceeding the limit may forfeit his or her position on the board of directors. And this said subject to a final vote on such removal for cause by a majority vote of the executive committee. I thought it was more appropriate for it to be a majority vote of the entire board, which in fact is the case with all other removal from the board of directors. In fact, it says an elected may be removed, excuse me, by a 2/3 vote of the board of directors. So that seemed to be that subject to a final vote by the executive committee seemed to be inconsistent with that provision. The next section. Oh, it was the sunshine law, sorry. The next change was on page 14. And I think it was just a typo. Oh, this is, it was suggested by the consultant and somewhat discussed by the full board about the needs for a bylaws committee and a board of governance and stewardship committee. I thought it should be combined. And so I struck the discussion about the bylaws committee being included as a standing committee of the board. As an aside, we always, when I was in law school, everyone hated those classes right after lunch. I understand now. This is gripping. I know it's so. Oh, I'm sorry. We can do it now.
You finished?
I was saying you have a hand raised in between, I don't know if you want to do now or.
We can do it now.
Well, thank you, Attorney. Hey,
No, he's not.
No, he's
not-
not me.
Okay, but I was a question.
I think it's yeah, Monica.
Monica, okay, thank you. We recognize Monica.
Thank you. Thank you. So quick question. I noticed that, and so first, as an aside, thank you, Director Green, I was not initially available, but you're doing a wonderful job. So thank you so much.
You can
I did have a, no, that's okay. You're good. So I do have a question though. You said that remember in our conversation, Attorney Hager, that you talked about combining board governance and stewardship with bylaws.
Yes,
Are we gonna include in section 5 the language that was the bylaws? Because I see it's struck through, and I may be jumping ahead of you. Section 6 is stricken. Are we going to include that language in some way in the board stewardship and governance committee section? Because right now I don't think it says. It
You
just
don't-
says to be. Go ahead.
in section 5 on the duties of the Board of Governance and Stewardship Committee,
Yeah.
I added the language, review the bylaws of the foundation to assure that guidance for opening the business of the board are properly updated and make recommendations to the board regarding amendments and modifications as necessary.
Okay, I missed that. All right, never mind. Thank you.
Somebody's awake, okay. All right, the next change was on page 17. I just strike through, I don't know, planning for leadership succession. Oh, yeah, it was just a typo. Thank you. On the next section, so we struck the bylaws committee. The next change was to page 19. And, oh, that's just a renumbering, sorry. On page 20, pursuant to the consultant's suggestion, we added that the board of directors shall meet quarterly as opposed to semi. These are all strike throughs on page 21, section 6. Collective authority and actions is approved by the board. And we also struck on the next page, pursuant to the consultants, as being unnecessary, the provision related to the order of business of the meetings of the board. I think. You see it? And what is it? Oh, yeah, okay. And this is back on page 22, striking Article 5 again. This would be added to the policy and procedures. So this is very thrilling stuff here. And I had to do it, so you. Oh, is that it? Oh, thank you. I think that's it. There was the provision relating to I think that I added was that in reconsidering appointment or reelection to the board, that you had to meet your give and get responsibility. That does it for the amendments to the board. Yes, ma'am. To the bylaws. Yeah, yes. That would be part of the consideration you being reappointed. It's back at
Well, thank you, Attorney Hayward. Are there any questions?
yeah, she has.
Look like we got a bunch, but.
Article 2. Article 2.
Section, what was the section number?
83. Responsiveness and commitment, including financial commitments and existing member satisfaction of get annual commitments to the board and the university. For some reason, that's not red line, but I thought I saw a version where that was. But
It is.
okay, I'm looking at this.
That may have been in there already. I think I just, as I said, just tried to clarify. It's in, yeah, it's in man of election. Romanet 3. Responsibility and commitment, including financial commitments and existing members' satisfaction of get annual commitment to the board and the university.
And where is that?
It's on page 8. Romanet 3.
It's E3.
So there's a clean and a red line version. I just realized I
Yes,
was in the clean version, but in the red line version, which is ahead of it, it is red line.
see it?
Yes.
You got a question?
Well, now I have two. So when you reference the financial commitment, that's only in the case of a reelection, right?
No, it's for man of election. So if you read, members placed into nomination by the Board of Governors and Stewardship Committee shall be elected or re-elected to the board membership by a majority vote of all members of the board.
What page are we on?
This is page 7. It starts on page 7.
Right. So it sounds like it only relates to an election, but what happens during those 4 years if we have a member who hasn't met?
I think it's
requirements?
actually, it's a
Section
it's a ground for being terminated. I mean, being
removed.
on the board. What section was it, Monica?
It's section 10 is under removal. It's on page 13, section 10. I'm looking at the red line version. So
Yes.
section 10, removal of member. And it would be A.
Yes, and that's not a change. That actually has been in there. That was not changed. You see it?
Yes. Okay, and then my second concern is with all of the language that's been stricken, what do we do during the meantime before the policies and procedures manual is put in place?
My position is it's already been approved. It's just a matter of reducing it and adding it to the policy and procedures.
But we don't have such a manual.
We do.
Okay, so I have, to see that, because the language regarding the order of meetings has been stricken. I just think for continuity's sake, that language needs to remain, but if you say it's already been included in the other manual.
Yeah, and that was another suggestion, I think, from the consultants. And I think also by the bylaws committee, so at that time. Are there any other questions?
No, just a comment, just to kind of, this is Director Harris, to provide some context for Director Abney's concerns. If I remember correctly, and Attorney Hager, remind me, or Nick, remind me if I'm incorrect. I think that what we decided from a bylaws committee perspective is every time we make changes, that we just have a running red line revision. So we have like a clean version of the bylaws once they're voted upon, but then there's also a separate, to address your concern, we also have a separate kind of running continual revisions of the document, all the revisions to the bylaws that have been made, such that we don't lose anything when it's transferred over to the policies and procedures, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's in Article 9 that lists the last amendment promulgated by date. So once this is adopted, it'd be last amendment promulgated May 30th. Do you see it, Monica? I'm sorry, Director Harris.
Yeah, yes, I see it.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments? Thank you very much for your attention and
off, but I keep turning it back on and it keeps flipping off. So let me know when it flips off again. Why is it?
It's the battery.
Not quite ready. huh?
It-
Thank you very much.
If the committee chair is ready, or vice chair, I'd make a motion.
Okay, well, anyway, thank you. Are there any questions from any other committee members first?
Motion to approve the bylaws as amended.
Second, Director Harris.
It has been moved and second. Is there any discussion? If there is none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed-
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. Are there any other items? And motion carries, but are there any other items that need to come before this committee?
Just a word of thanks to the committee and the advancement team. This is a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work.
And I like, as a vice chair, I'd like to commend the infamous Harris for all the work that she's done. I mean, it's an inordinate amount of hard work. And so we thank you for that.
I cannot take full credit. The credit goes to, I appreciate that, but the credit really goes to Attorney Haygood and the foundation staff. I just oversee, which is easy.
You've done a lot more than that, but let that be said. Okay, if there's no additional work to be done, I'd like to entertain a motion for adjournment. We are adjourned. This thing on a
Thank you, everyone, for your participation. The May 30th, 2025 meeting of the Athletics Financial Sustainability Plan Committee is now called to order. We're going to shorten the agenda because we have a number of members that they need to leave. And so we want to ensure that folks have time for us to participate in the general foundation meeting. All right, so Nick, I'm gonna ask you to keep me honest on the time there.
Okay.
Oh, well, Brandy's gonna keep us, you and Brandy, and Dr. Neal, everybody's gonna keep me honest. And Terrell's not here, but I would expect he would keep me honest as well. Nick, will you please call the roll to confirm the quorum?
Chair Lawrence Humphries,
Here.
Vice Chair Josetta Coleman, Director Angela Adderley. I see you, yeah. I see you here, ma'am. I'll mark you present. Okay, thank you. Director Jeffrey Francis. Director Erica Hill. Director Curtis Johnson. Director Jakisha Kidd,
Present.
Director Kenneth Neighbors,
Present.
Director Ebenezer Oriaku,
Present.
Director Tawana Monroe Ward,
Present.
Director Terrell Whitley. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I have two housekeeping rules. If you are making a motion, you are requested to state your name for the record. And importantly, please remember to mute your device when not speaking to avoid background noises. Thank you. Committee members are advised to disclose if a conflict of interest exists relative to the items on the meeting agenda. If yes, please advise at this time. Okay. So next we have approval of the minutes from the May 8th, 2025 Athletics Financial Sustainability Plan Committee meeting. The meetings from the May 8th Athletics Financial Sustainability Plan meeting was provided in advance for your review. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
Director Kidd, so moved.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have new business. And based on our last conversation and our desire to really get moving in terms of our support for athletics in the Marching 100, I thought it was important for us to get together and hear directly from AD Suggs and Dr. Chipman what their pain points are, what their needs are, and what they see as opportunities for us to support them. So I invited them. They're here. They're originally scheduled for 30 minutes. I've now limited to 15, but if I think we do have a little time, if we go over it, I think that'll be okay. And the same for Dr. Chipman. So my ask of the group is to tune in. I know you will, because everyone loves athletics and the Marching 100. Let's figure out how we can support not only athletics in the Marching 100, but the entire ecosystem. I mean, one of the observations that I've made, and I'm sure it's probably an obvious observation, but I'll state it just for the record, is that we have, this 10-lane, 12-lane highway, and everybody's trying to cross. We got frogs trying to cross, cars are trying to get over, and what happens is that it causes a lot of gumming up of the gears, and so therefore we have a lot of inefficiency in terms of our ability to really support our teams and the band the way I know we want to. So for me, what I'm listening for is your thoughts on how do we support, how do we play our role, how do we stay in our lane, how are we safe, and how do we make sure that we're coordinating with everyone so that everybody is advancing down the field at the same cadence for the same results, right? I want to see us be effective. And I know in the past, we've come over to athletics and we've gone over to the band and said, hey, this is how you need to do it and do it that way. And, and then if you don't do it that way, then, we come back and we're, discouraged, right? When in reality, at the end of the day, you tell me how much you need. And then I try to figure out if I have it myself and I give what I can give, and then I go to my neighbor and ask them what they can give, right? So that's the spirit for which I want us to think about how we help athletics. So Angie, I'll turn it over to you. You did send me some pain points. And I don't know if you want me to kind of moderate the pain points, or if you just want to share those pain points with us and we talk about it. So I think the format here is, again, give you the floor. Maybe you take 5 minutes or so to lay out, and then we engage.
Sure. Thank you so much, Chair Humphreys, and thank you so much to members of this board and VP Neal and the staff for your support. So I spoke this morning for almost 2 hours, and some of the things that we spoke about in terms of the new landscape of athletics, and I kind of just laid out what that looks like and how we are stacked up against our colleagues in the SWAC. Some of the things that I brought up were cost of attendance, which is something that's already being paid by some other schools, and that average is right around $1,500 per semester. You put that in at 300 student athletes, just for the sake of round numbers, that's $900,000 that we aren't currently spending, but that is definitely a need from the student athlete experience, right? We talked about the NCAA settlement and how we will have a reduction to the tune of between $260,000 and $300,000, that we're going to have to plug that gap. I am happy to report again to this body that we will, thanks to your support, because we could not have done it without the vote of affirmation and really putting faith in us that we'd be able to be good stewards of the support that you gave us in November, that we are able to close this fiscal year FY25 with a balanced budget. And so that's something that is commendable of the team, commendable of the support of bodies like this one, because in years past, while we balanced it, but then, we balanced it, I'll say that, but it's really, really balanced this year, and we are able to close out this year's with this year's expenses having been paid. As we look forward, some pain points that I did not bring up, but that are daily, and I didn't, because that larger group, we would have had to go into a lot more detail. There are 5. Medical expenses. We cover, we have a self-funded insurance medical policy for our program and for our student athletes. And so when an athlete gets hurt and they go, we then cover that surgery, we cover that recovery, that rehab that happens after that. We have that expense. And again, we're talking about covering that for an entire athletics department and all the student athletes. And so with that, that's something that is a pressure point for us to the tune of about $300,000 to $500,000 a year.
So,
Yes.
So how do other benchmark schools handle that? Do they have like a general liability insurance policy, or is it typically self-funded? How does that work?
Many programs our size are taking the and many HBCUs have the self-funded model. I walked into us having that. I don't know when the last time we did any type of research or a study to see if there are any products out there that may be better than the one that we're in right now, right? It's time for us to do that as we continue to kind of look forward to how we take care of the student athletes. I'm sure the product is years old. We've probably been with this product and with this firm for more than 20 years.
Mhm.
And it is time for us to take a look at what's going to best fit our needs. That's a great idea. We can bring that up we have our meeting coming up shortly.
For the record, that was Chair Neighbors.
And could somebody repeat what was stated? We can't hear online.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I've had comms issues. Chair Neighbors, I asked the question as to whether or not we could consider the SWAC going in and getting a group health insurance policy versus self-insurance.
Okay, thank you.
So if that became an action, where would that sit? Is there someone on your team that could investigate that, or is it something we can do to help with that?
There is. We have a broker,
Okay.
and that broker could go out and take a look at other products that would better fit where we are now. Again, I think with the transition that we've had, that question just hasn't been asked. And then to be quite frank, they're not going to go out and look for another product for us if we're not in compliance and are not caught up, just to be frank. If we're not caught up on funding the product that we're in right now and paying those claims in a timely manner.
Okay, so the dollar figure that you sent me, would that capture?
That's where we are. That's what we have for this year.
Okay.
And that's been around the range for the past 2 years that we can see.
Okay, so, in that vein, I think as we go through this, and we start to outline some of the things that we have some deficiencies, and some opportunity to close some gaps, one of the exercises that we can do is go through a prioritization right?
Absolutely.
And figure out, if my first dollar, if I have $1, that first dollar would go here,
Right.
right, et cetera. So that's something maybe we could work with you on.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay.
As we go through, and there are just three more that we've highlighted for today.
Katie Sets, may I actually just jump in just with a quick comment
Absolutely.
before we change topics? And this is not a question. I'm just going to offer myself up. In a past life, I was president of the student health business for Aetna, and I designed insurance products for University of Florida State, and I think still is their client, and I can walk with you through options offline.
That is very much so appreciated,
Oh, yeah,
Director
that's awesome.
Kidd.
My
I
pleasure.
will reach out to you later today.
Sounds good.
Okay.
As we go through this again, the flip side to that is being proactive, right? And looking at a preventative approach to reduce injury. And that comes through our sports performance side. And that I announced that we have a beast of a head of strength and conditioning coming in from Colorado, right? But he's one person. And that's who we have. We're looking to get him an assistant. We're talking about 14 teams, right? And so to be able to have them trained in a way where some of these injuries could be prevented. That's the core of it, how we become bigger, faster, stronger, more flexible, right? Able to have situational training, even being able to do training where you're looking to have muscles that are prepared to pivot in a different way, and that we're able to do that at a level with an amount of staff. Look at. Now, we have brought in someone who understands the nuances of all of these sports, but to bring some support to that position and to that area, then could reduce some of the costs that we just talked about in having to fund injury and taking a look at it that way. And so as we look at nutrition as well, which falls under the same piece of sports performance, if we are able to have a goal of getting to a training table, but before we get there, just being able to have pre and post game meals for all of our teams. Not saying we'll go to the CAF and we'll see you at the field house.
Right.
Just
Chair
to put a
Neighbors,
finer-
you're recognized.
Appreciate the protocol. Just to put a finer point on this, earlier I mentioned, right, that our contingency is gone effectively. And so these are the kind of events that we have to continue to factor in, right? So if we have a medical claim and we're self-insured, right? And that money can't come from state funds, right? It's either coming from here or another DSO. So we'll continue to amplify that theme, right? Boosters, everybody, plus the foundation, but it counsels us to rebuild the reserve, right? And so that and then I guess we have to take care of the existing liability. So that's something we need to really factor in.
Yeah, so, so I'm being coached over here. So, how much would that cost?
For us, that's right around $750,000. When you take a look at sports medicine staff, and we're on the low end of that. So I'm going to go ahead. Even if we were to come in and find someone that wants to be with us bad enough to accept $55,000 a year, and we get 3 of them, right? Add in fringe, that's another 25 on top of this 50 to 55 that we're looking at. And again, these are low that we are talking about being preventative. But that's a starting point to be able to grow to that. But then also looking at nutrition, right? We spend a really pretty penny on food.
So is that annual recurring 750?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's the coaches, that's the staff, and that's the meal.
That's staff, that's food. We have some partners, but we also purchase while we have a pouring rights agreement for beverage service on campus, we purchase water and we purchase Gatorade. And while we appreciate the support of everyone, we need the sports performance muscle milk. We use the muscle milk that we're getting from the shelves, but that higher level, you know, the electrolytes that are coming directly from Gatorade, not just Gatorade. And looking at some of all of those other costs, looking at having equipment and recovery equipment. You've seen the Nautica sleeves that go on, and we have some of those, but we have one pair. We have 300 student athletes. And so that growing and building ourselves to be prepared for the success that we're looking for.
Vice Chair Whitley.
So, as we continue to kind of go through the analysis here, for me, it really is starting, especially as a D1 school, this is becoming staggering, and it's stacking very, very fast. I agree, there's an area of prioritization that we're going to have to figure out, but I really feel, you know, and it's interesting because we've hit so many championships this past year. So our ability to go into the marketplace and sell the excellence that we've done, and then strategically align with, okay, what contracts are in play or coming up, where can we go next? And then how do we begin to chip against some of these areas? So when I hear, okay, hey, we gotta look at nutrition, and we think about meals, and we think about beverage, and we think about performance, you know, I'm trying to figure out strategically, how do we get our current position in front of the right folks sooner than later? Because I've said this before in other forums, but I'm gonna say it here as well. We're number one public HBCU and number 81 today. We were the Celebration Bowl champions in 2023. We're not today. So I don't know if we're going to be able to have the same touting of stats tomorrow. So while we have it today, while it's under our banner, while the championships are under our banner, I'm really trying to figure out how do we get that outside of the FAMU walls into a greater sphere of engagement with brands that are looking for NIL, looking for sponsorships, and looking to spend money. And specifically, as we go through the line items, like I think, you know, my hope is that we can say, okay, hey, bucket one is here, whether it's nutrition and, you know, performance. Bucket two is here under insurance. Like I'm trying to figure out how do we strategically place that in a model that allows us to get it out, right? So I don't know if all of that can be. It's a larger question, but I'm trying to wrap this for the board because I think strategically we're going to have to figure out how to, under sustainability, work with Marvin and work with our athletic director to get this resolved.
So, and Scott, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything. Yes, I wanted to ask you to opine on some of what you heard, you being very well versed in all this.
So what I was gonna say is that, I thought Director Whitley, his comments were right on that. It sounds like not just this discussion, it feels like a death by a million cuts, like everybody needs more money. And what I struggle with, what I think about is that what's the holistic picture? And if we're trying to be a world-class university with world-class students, with world-class investment, like how does this all ladder up? And so going to the athletic program, if the new world is around having talent that people want to invest in and sponsors want to be a part of, you have to have facilities that top talent wants to be a part of. If you have to invest in those facilities so that they can feel like they're going to spend the next 4 years doing it, they're going to do it here or do it somewhere else. They want to do it here. That's going to attract more investment. That's going to elevate the program. That elevates the school. That brings better students in, and the flywheel begins. If you break this into a million cuts of just surviving every year, you spend money, but you never get to where you want to go. And this conversation just keeps repeating itself. But if you start off with where do we want to be in 5 years? How do we build that flywheel? Then you feel much more comfortable about spending money on sports nutrition having a locker room or a fitness center that people want to be a part of. And you know it's a good investment, and then you stagger it over, in 2 years, we should look like this. In 4 years, we should look like this. In 6 years, we hit the promised land. And then you measure it along the way. You feel really good about that money you throw along the way. But when you argue about the 750, a million, how many more scholarships, you feel like, you're just trying to protect your pot. You never get there. And I think so having a holistic picture, athletics as a part of the bigger brand, is really crucial. And that's how we get to being, number 81 and number 25 to being something much higher. That's my 2 cents. I say all that to say, I agree with everything she just said in a long-winded way.
Thank
Would
you.
you like
so
to
much.
respond to that?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and Mr. Vice Chair Whitley, and thank you so much. We have 2 more things that I'm going to kind of close out the $3 million pain point that we have right now currently, and that's coach retention and travel. So I spoke about travel earlier, putting athletes on a bus, and then coach retention. When we win, or when we almost win, so we did, even when we do better, schools come and offer our coaches well over what we are currently supporting them with from compensation, and they're moving. I have 3 that are trying to keep them from even having the conversation right now. And in all 3 of those situations, they would be moving into almost double where we have them right now. And so as we take a look at having competitive salaries, along with competitive incentive structures, along with transportation and everything else that I just mentioned, as I came to this board in November and we spoke about the critical need for a 5-year plan. The idea is not for us to come and, I'll use the phrase nickel and dime, not to be casual, but to just kind of get the point across and ask you for each line item, but that we take a look at, as I mentioned in November, that here's the bigger picture. As we take a look at our DSO and how the booster organization is structured, and working with Marvin and taking a look at how we're going to go out and raise these resources. The idea would be that we're doing this in year 1. And by the time we get to year 5, that we're doing this, that the greater ask is not coming just to this board, but that we're showing how we're raising the level of donation, the level of grants that we receive, and other resource generation that we have that comes in, and that it will then maybe not level out, but it's not completely upside down.
Director Harris, you have a question?
I do, and this may be something that was already touched on and I missed it, but I've heard, so I appreciate AD Suggs, all of the information that you provide is very helpful. I'm sitting here just kind of brainstorming, and one of the things that, and maybe this has been touched on, we talk about nutrition, we talk about the supplements, muscle milk, etc. I will assume that a part of the plan in terms of getting funding for that is corporate sponsorships, or maybe I'm naive in that regard because of the market, and maybe they're just not into, there's no appetite for that. But it would seem to me in the fact that we are not, we won a championship for football 2 years ago, but we have other athletic teams who are champions and multi-year champions. And so is there some way to market that to companies, to get the companies to sponsor some of the, at least the low-hanging fruit? So that's one bucket of, we don't have to necessarily deal with. And I see Director Kidd shaking her head. So maybe I'm naive in that respect, but I'm trying to think about, when you talk about the monies that are needed to kind of keep us afloat and have us be successful, is there any thought strategy wise of reaching out to companies, and maybe that's something we've already done, to sponsor some of these asks that we have?
Director Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, it was a question. I just want to recognize him too, since we're running, and then she can answer both of them.
So, being a former student athlete and having seen this at 2 schools, I'll tell you what's about to happen. You heard AD Suggs talk about the scholarship limits, the goal line moving. The school I'm at, they've made the commitment from the board of trustees to the president to put money towards athletics, to make the commitment to it. We've won by the grace of God, to be honest with you. But now we're going to put our athletic program in a bad place if we don't keep up with the rest of the SWAC. I know Alabama A&M going to throw the money at it. I know Jackson State going to throw the money at it. Okay, they're going to throw the money at it. And I often ask ADs, and I ask AD subs to if you had 10,000 season ticket holders and you know you can count on, and you wake up before the first part of the year when you get ready to make your schedule, what would that do to your bottom line? That's one part. And then the second part is I'm going to ask, how many in this room are season ticket holders? Because that goes to the bottom line. And she don't have to play Miami and all these people if she knows she wake up and she got 10,000. I'm using that number, but it will make a difference. We got to start within us first. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Clark. So we have a question and a comment. Maybe you can go back to and answer Monica's question.
Okay, thank you so much to both of you. To Director Harris, we are looking at an entire revenue resource generation plan. And so we're looking for it all. Right now, we do not have a third party multi-rights agreement with a company that focuses just on that. Once upon a time, we did. Some of the institutions in the SWAC have relationships with your Learfields or your Van Wagners and others, and they have 2 or 3 people on staff that's focused on only that, right? We would need to position ourselves to take a look at that as well. Additionally, in terms of resource generation, local businesses taking a look at that also, but what just happened with Director Kidd, that I presented this information to you also, so that if there are resources that you have or that you know others, if you just give us the lead, we'll come in and lock that in to be able to cover this. And so we're looking to resource the needs that we have, both from an expense perspective, but also from a service level perspective as well.
Okay.
I'm gonna just hook on it.
Sure.
The thing about it is sponsors don't like to say, they don't want to build the program for you. So they want to be a part of something that's gonna be winning, and they do that from already seeing first investment on the front end. Then they want to be a part of it. They don't necessarily want to be like the first in, if that makes sense. So I think being able to have an AD that can talk about where we're going and how we're all in, and we've got the 10,000, whatever it is, then someone wants to be a part of it. But if you think we're going to get sponsors to help kind of bootstrap us up, it happened in 2020, and I don't really need to talk about why, but that's not going to be the way it is now.
And to Director Azell's point, this isn't a donation that we're getting from these sponsors. They are paying for a return on their investment, and we've got to give them not just a product on the field, but an experience that is going to marry their brand for them to make money. So they are investing in us so that they can have a larger yield and return on their investment as well. To Director Clark, thank you so much for sharing that reality, and that is the space that we're in. And to some of those programs, when we say that we really need to double our budget in the next 3 to 5 years, it's just to catch up with them. And so that's where we are as we reaffirm, as we've said before, our commitment to voluntarily sponsoring an athletics program at the Division I level.
Thank you for that. Director Harris?
Yes, sorry.
Then Director Oyako?
One more comment, and I know because we're trying to move quickly along. Just a thought. I have said frequently that we have everything we need within Rattler Nation, and I I have to believe that in terms of what you're looking for, AD Suggs, connections with folks that have those corporate relationships, we have to have that in Rattler Nation where we can make those connections. Maybe it's getting a coalition of alumni who are in those spaces to really kind of work with you to kind of help figure out what it is we need to tell people or tell these corporate folks to kind of get us to invest. I understand we need to have some buy-in internally, but we can walk two roads at the same time. And so I'm not sure if that's something that you've thought about. I'm sure that you probably have, but I'm getting text messages from alumni who are in that space that are looking and eager to try to figure out how we help athletics to get those corporate sponsorships. And I can forward those names to you, or I can, whatever that is. But I think that we have the folks that we need in Rattler Nation. We just have to kind of tap into those resources that we already have.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Oriaka? Yeah, I'm speaking as a faculty member and the impact athletics has on the university. When it comes to graduation rates, the student athletes have a higher graduation rate than the student population. I just signed a document that is going to the SWAC office. Over 45% have 3.0 average or more. So, yeah, and this affects our metrics because when students don't graduate on time, there's a problem. So this should be another selling point for us that these kids actually are helping the school meet its metrics. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a couple more minutes, and so I'll turn the mic back over to you, AD Suggs, to cover those couple of points, and
Sure.
we'll wrap up.
Well, thank you so much, Chair Humphreys. Again, that pretty much kind of sums up, right, where we are in taking a look at being able to have a strong athletics program. Everyone is right. It's really difficult when you do it in spite of, and you carry the wins. Again, we were tied for fourth in the SWAC Cup just coming in. Many of our teams are rebuilding. We have 14 sports. That's the bare minimum for NCAA. That's the bare minimum. So we can't afford any flub on anything. And so we can't even carry the minimum number on the roster moving forward, because if we're down one athlete, guess what? We're down to 13 sports and we're not in compliance with our Division I status. And so we really need to add sports as well. We really need to add sports. And so that is something else that we are taking a look at. And as it relates to facilities, we have to really get on board. Alabama A&M has a world-class sports performance center that serves as their basketball gym as well. And I just mentioned to you that the Lawson Center is almost 20 years old. So we're not the newest thing on the block right now. And as of course, we've been to Alabama State's football stadium. We've been to other venues that are within our league, right? And others that are coming to bear. And so as we move forward and we're at the table, I was a part of a Florida House of Representatives. The speaker put together a work group to talk about the impact to the University of Florida, University of South Florida, Florida State University, and Florida A&M University. So I was at that table with the AD for FIU, the General Counsel for Florida State, the CFO at UCF, and the Chancellor Rodriguez, and others, as we talked about what's the impact, because it's us too. So it's not just those institutions. We are also a Division I institution with football in the state university system. And so I'm honored to serve, and thank you so much for your support.
So the one ask, going back to what I said earlier, is I know you guys have a plan, right? And a vision and strategies. What I like you to think about is, given the composition of this board, how can we help you? Right? Besides just, I need $750,000 off this program, I'm paying for that program. How can we help you? When I think back to, my father's administration, right? I mean, I know that he personally, right, along with Leo Sams, went out there and negotiated those games, right? Along with Ken Riley. And so those are the kind of things that, and you were around for that. So those are some of the things that maybe we can identify opportunities for, not only the board, but, maybe university, obviously corporate sponsors, relationships, all of that. But let's really think through how we can just really get behind you and help you execute.
Certainly. Thank you
Right.
so much.
All right, thank you. All right, so next we're gonna have Dr. Shelby Chipman from the Marching 100, who's gonna walk through some slides. And is he here?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Like to say hello and greeting from Tallahassee. I'm here in my office, and sorry I could not be at the NAA meeting this year. And so I certainly want to thank each and every one of you. I know we had great dialogue last year in Tampa at the convention, and certainly the FAMU Foundation board does an amazing job with supporting so many aspects of the university. I can't see everybody sitting around the table, so I'll just simply say greetings to any administrators and faculty and staff and support systems from the university that may be in the house. I want to say I do see Dean Matthews, our dean of the Conscience of the Academy. I want to say Christian Harper, but I really can't see all the faces. So I'll just say welcome to each and every one of you that are there. And
So
so as
Dr.
we,
Chipman, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to say something.
Yes, sir.
I want to say before you guys started, I just want to say congratulations on winning Band of the Year. That show that you guys put on was the best show I've seen the 100 do in years. The sound was sensational. I mean, the cadence, everything was, Dr. Foster smiling down today. And so I'd like to take a moment to congratulate you on that. And I think we all should give him a round of applause and even a standing ovation.
Oh, thank you. Well, I tell you, thank you so much, Chair Humphreys, and we are so grateful to, first and foremost, the support that we receive from the university, but of course, our students. And I don't want to get too long-winded because I know there's much business to be discussed, but we're grateful to our students who really gave it their all. And of course, the timing of the ESPN Battle of the Bands wasn't the greatest in terms of timing because it was during several of the school's final exams. And so, but the students put it all on the line. And so we're just really grateful to them. And of course, our staff and just everybody. And the comment that you just mentioned, I've heard so many times. There's a presentation being done this weekend on that I'm a part of a panel on tomorrow, just on the show. And we put together for that Battle of Bands presentation, and just so many high school band directors and colleges have reached out to us and just said, just phenomenal presentation. And, one of the charges we told the students 2 days ago when I announced the new drum majors and the new officers and leaders is how do we put ourselves in a mental space as well as physical and musical and marching space and creativity with starting the way we ended the year. And so that's going to be our big challenge, because now we know that we're only as good as the next performance, and as great as that performance was and how much we celebrated it, the audience is all over, from someone that's little, that's 9 years old, up to somebody that's a seasoned Rattler veteran or just supporter, is going to expect that same standard. So to whom much is given, much is expected. So thank you for that comment.
And Dr. Shipman, just one more thing. Imagine me being Trustee Klatt last year when he kept telling you, give it to us, right? Tell us what you need. For me, and obviously we have a diverse board and people have different ideas, but personally for me, I'd like to see the Marching 100 at every game we go to. Right? I know that in our current situation, that's not really doable, but as a vision, I'd love to see the Marching 100 be at every game, because when the football team is doing what it does and you guys are doing what you do, that is the most entertaining environment in Black colleges, if not colleges, period. Right? So I just wanted to put that out there as a vision. My personal vision, and now I'll be quiet and turn it back over to you. But that's something I want you to think about.
Absolutely. No, thank you for that. And I will say our students, they love to travel, and we know that impression is something, and that helps not only the brand, but the recruitment and the opportunities for FAMU to be present everywhere. And that's one of the reasons why, even with this, like the current uniform, the last thing you'll see when the band marches by you or walk by you is the word FAMU. So that is something that we would certainly welcome if, you know, we have the funding and all the necessary things in place. And so you see the slides that we have here for you. And one thing that's really important as we're moving forward and we're thinking about the tradition, not to take away from the traditions we've had, but also just thinking about how we should transform. And you know, even President Obama once, you know, told us all that, you know, change is good. So as we think about the traditions we hold, transforming this band into becoming, you know, the band that everybody will respect all over this world is something that we're going to be looking at. But with that comes a lot of support that are needed. So I have some specific things that we'll mention to you. And within the next scope of our slides here, and thank you, Marvin, for helping me out there. I know you sitting around the table. Yes, and so I want to first of all thank you. I would be an ingrate if I just didn't pause for a second, everybody, to thank these individuals that you see on screen. There are others that have supported us, but certainly our university and all of those under that umbrella with all of the different offices here on campus. Of course, our Student Government Association and the finances that they provide to the band each and every year. Some years it does depend, the funding that they give us does depend on the number of students that are enrolled, and you know, all of you know that. But we're certainly very grateful to the funding we receive. Even the recently passed president of SGA, as she was, I guess, getting ready to turn over the gavel, she did mention that she'd like to provide to the band $100,000 for support. But, you know, because of the way things are set up, those monies will be, I think, distributed during the fall semester. So we can't use any of those funds right now. Of course, the FAMU Foundation Board, all of you around this table, thank you. The alumni, Alpha Z Gives and Brother Neighbors and your leadership and Brother Johnson and others. And, you know, I came to FAMU fall of 1982 myself. And so that class has really rallied and challenged themselves and others, and Carla and some of those to raise funds for the band, and they're continuing to raise funds for the band. Our FAMU band alumni continuously gives to us in their own spirit, with not only just scholarships for students on different instruments, but also book vouchers and special projects that we have throughout the year. And Kim Evans, I think she's there with you all this weekend, and then other stakeholders. So I just want to pause for a second. I don't have all the names listed of individuals who have given and supported us, along with athletics and those who sponsored the meals for the band at pep band at the basketball games this past spring. Tommy Mitchell and some of those that did that. And Angela, we thank you for those meals that we received at the pep band games this past spring. Next slide, please. And so the partnership is continuing to grow. And there you see the $100,000 gift that allowed us to travel to one of the football games on last year. And I understand that that was voted on, I think, last November at your meeting for that to take place again. And so you'll be hearing more about the trips in a second. And of course, the major gift officer of support that we're continuously receiving from individuals as well within some of the corporate companies that are reaching out. And I'll talk to you about a couple of companies that I've had some conversation to, even within the last couple of months. Next slide. And so we govern ourselves as we thank everybody on this 79-year band motto. And you see those pillars that Dr. Foster started back in 1946. And of course, just a centerpiece of the band at one of the pinnacle parades in the world, the Rose Bowl parade. So just wanted to remind everybody, as I continue to serve at this time as the director of bands, we're going to continue to make sure that this band motto is emphasized with, of course, character, academic leadership, musicianship, marching, and service, as well as making sure that when someone is seeing the band, as I tell the students, they're seeing us for the first time and possibly live for the last time. So it's always important that we exemplify the highest level of character and, of course, performance whenever we're before the public. Next slide. And as you've already mentioned, 3 great things happened this year amongst the students, also achieving overall GPA out of the 92 students that we had in last year's band. I think the overall average for our band is 2.92 at this time. And of course, there were 6 students who attained fall and spring 4.0 GPAs, and several students 3.5 or higher. And so I just want to give you that quick data point that was given to me by our Department of Music Compliance Officer. And as Chair Humphreys mentioned, the Band of the Year trophy, which we're going to continue to celebrate. And I also wanted to mention our jazz band received the Jazz at Lincoln Center #1 jazz band in the country. And that was decided on by a panel of outstanding musicians to include Wynton Marsalis. And many of you have heard and know of Wynton Marsalis and others who are on that panel. And of course, we celebrate Mr. Robert Griffin and his amazing students that won that award in Norfolk, Virginia this past April. And as you hear about some of the performances that are coming up, one of the first performances to start this year will be the band returning to Houston, Texas for the Battle of Bands. That'll be the weekend before the Orange Blossom Classic game. And then that Wednesday and Thursday, 30 band members and myself, and I think 8 cheer team members will be going to help celebrate and honor one of our very own, Althea Gibson, at the United States Tennis Open Center in New York. And from what I understand, we'll probably be the first band to ever perform on center court. And so that's a big thing. And so you'll be hearing more about that, and we'll launch something out at some point in time, but I did want to mention that to you. And then of course, we'll be looking forward to Miami that weekend. Next slide, please.
So excuse me, Dr. Shipman.
Yes, sir.
Ask a question here. You know, I've seen all of the places that you guys are, that you go, and the invitations. Travis Scott at Coachella comes to mind. Are you guys getting paid when you guys go to these events?
Absolutely. There's always a negotiation that I have with the promoters, depending, or the company that's asking the band to perform, based on the number of students, the number of the days, or the amount of work has to be put in, or the arrangements needed, and the timeliness of everything. So like with the Battle of Bands, just again, full transparency, last fall, each band received, and it's public knowledge, 2 nights in Atlanta, all expenses, and $100,000 each band received. Of course, for the performance that we did with Coach from a drum corps, our band program received $40,000 plus expenses. And then there's a negotiation that's still on the table with the US Open that will receive it, as well as with the Battle Band. So yes, to answer your questions, the free days for the FAMU band as it comes to those kind of performances are over. I mean, unless it's something that's dealing directly with the university that we feel there's a need to ask for some type of compensation, which not the university would ask, but certainly with non-university events is what I'm saying. Yes, everybody pays for the band, in addition to the expenses that goes to our scholarship, band operations, et cetera, to include even some of the football games that sometimes the band is a part of the contract. And I do want to pause for another second to thank AD Suggs, because we've had ADs, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I mean a very positive way, but AD Suggs has really reached out to me on several occasions. I mean, we've sat after the MLK convocation in Lee Hall and talked about just goals and things we need to do to make sure that we are now moving forward as partners together in the athletic and band realm. And certainly the discussions that we have are some of the discussions that I have not had since I've been at the helm in 2016. So I'm really excited about that opportunity and how she's been very transparent with me regarding contracts that we're under, as well as contracts that may be forthcoming.
Do you have a sense of what other bands that get invited to the types of events that you guys get invited to? I mean, what's top dollar?
Most of the band, I'm sorry.
And where do you think FAMU is on that, schedule, if you will? Do we get top dollar, or we get something in between? Are we getting our values worth? And I'm asking that because one of the things that may be a good idea is that with the new officer, and maybe it's not this person, maybe it's you, AD Suggs, negotiates, right, with these, with the various entities that are requesting for the March 100 to come. And we really charge premium right? Make it a profit center.
If I can give a quick
Yeah, sure.
response. We are in that space. The game I mentioned as it relates to Mississippi Valley going to Atlanta. I just spoke with Dr. Chipman yesterday. And we will take a look at that because while it's not our home game, there is some negotiation that will happen on behalf of Florida A&M as we journey to Atlanta.
Beautiful. Okay.
And
Thank you.
working definitely in partnership with Marvin.
Okay, thank you.
And I do, and to your point, I do have a document that I'm going to share with, glad you brought that up with Brother Green, that kind of outlines different size ensembles do employ certain fees in certain amounts based on what we have to get done. So I'll make sure I share that with AD Suggs and Marvin Green. The next slide that you see here is just, again, an advertisement. So, you know, charity starts at home. And so we do ask our students as we start off every school year to pay a fee of $250. And basically that fee, just so that you know, and I also make sure I always mention this to the Student Government Association students so that they know what the students have in terms of investment into their own program. But most of those dollars do go towards their warm-ups that we use as an alternate uniform, shorts, 2 t-shirts, a cap, spats, gloves, etc. So the students do invest that at the beginning of every year that they have to pay. So I did want to mention that to you. So the Band of the Year fundraiser that we did was to help offset some of the expenses that were incurred with the rings. If there was nothing else we wanted to do, I wanted to give the students something for their efforts and that they put forth with the Band of the Year award that we received. And so those rings will be coming in sometime the middle of next month. And so all the students and staff will receive one of the rings. So I'm just sharing this with you. I want to say the rings were $150. We ordered, I want to say 300. And it was something like 40-some thousand. We raised through in-kind scan donations that you see here, something like $8,000. And then we just offset and paid it through our foundation account. And I mentioned to you what we actually received from that event, but it's just a small token of appreciation that we wanted to give the students as a keepsake. So I just wanted to mention this to you and thank again those people who may have donated. It was some basketball games. We may have given out a flyer and some other events, and several rattlers and just supporters did, give some funds towards that. So it's just an acknowledgement of that. And so just going through this really quickly here, just some of the highlights from last year. We participated in over 73 events. There's a list from when we went to the San Jose Juneteenth celebration up till the 3 symphonic bands and wind symphony that you may have seen at the commencement ceremony. And so there was a total of 73. And the good thing is we didn't have to have the students at all the performances, because you've often heard me say that, you know, the good thing is when we have the kind of numbers we do and the kind of quality that we do in all the different sections, we can mix them up. And sometimes, as I said, have first year, sometimes second, third, et cetera, in the groups, as well as not overextend ourselves to the students. But you see some of the performances here that we performed in. There were 73, and we just took these 10 or 12 off to show you. Many of you know this because you've seen them accordingly, but just great opportunities for our students. Travis Scott was very interesting to work with. And but he loved the FAMU and the Jackson State students, the performances that is, and he was very personal, and so that was a great opportunity for us. I just wanted to mention that. Next slide, and then I'll get into some of the meat and potatoes. Yeah, and so when we think about annual goals, and I've been listening to the conversation, so I wasn't on screen, but as I think about the athletics and some of the comments that were mentioned, I would certainly think that, and I'm sure some of you probably would also, that some of these continuous or year by year goals and or funding structures that are needed are here every year. I mean, I have a band budget for the 25-26 school year, of course, and I'll be happy to share with anybody. I have shared it with leadership, and many of these line items are some of the same line items as we know that are needed each and every year. But here are some of the highlight points that would be needed, at least for this year. This year's band coming up as you relates to our scholarships. We basically have the same scholarship that we've had since 2007, I think it is. Of course, we all know FAMU has the prices, like most state universities and private universities, have gone up. The good thing is our students are staying on scholarships because we have quality students and they're making good grades. We had a total of 53 students to graduate between the fall commencement, spring commencement, and the summer commencement coming up. And so we're very proud of those students who are graduating and moving on. But with that, we do have the students who are still here and the need for additional scholarships to support them, as they matriculate. And then you see the band operations, that 80,000 is just to feed the students 2 to 3 meals during the time that they're here when they all report on August 7th, prior to when we go to Houston. Instrument repair is something we have not done in the last couple of years, but I can assure you, and you'll see a picture, a slide of one of them, we are desperately in need of instrument repair, because what's been happening in recent time, the last year or two, we're having to use, well, the good thing, we had the foresight to have a practice set of instrument and a game set of instruments for some of the larger instruments and for percussion. Now, the only thing, when those instruments get to the point to practice that we're no longer able to use them, then we have to use the game instruments. And that's a recipe for disaster, because that means that those instruments are not going to be as sustainable. They're not going to look as pretty and shiny, play as well, et cetera. So that's a cost based on the analysis that a local company in town came out and provided to us for the big sousaphone instruments, the baritones, if you all are familiar with wind instruments. And then, of course, the additional uniforms that you see here, because with just being honest with you, the students with the current uniforms that we purchased with Dr. Robinson and Dr. Bernard Kinsey back before the parade that we did in California, the bodies are a little bigger now. So we're noticing there's a change. And so we have uniforms, but a lot of them are too small. And so we did an estimate. And so we're trying to order 20 additional uniforms, plus we haven't had 7 drum major orange uniforms. And I really want the students to have 7 orange uniforms. So that's what that 30,000 is. And incidentally, you'll hear about this officially, but as I selected the new drum majors, 2 are returning and 5 are new. I did select the first ever appointed female head drum major for the Florida A&M University Band, and I'm really excited about that. And so you will be hearing further about that. They'll be having a photo shoot, et cetera. If you're in the Tallahassee, you'll start to see them as they start to practice in the morning, 7 to 9 and 6 to 8 p.m. But I did want to make that announcement. First ever female head drum major. You know, we've had Corey Boston, but Dupay this year will be the head, and she's a theater student in Dr. Matthews' area. And then you see the football games that we have slated. And of course, in the right, of course, the Orange Blossom Classic Committee will be taking care of logistics and our travel for that. I did have a virtual call with them and their committee on yesterday, very nice call, and just getting all the ducks lined up for that. Some of this may change, I guess, depending on, I'm talking about the 2 middle games, just depending on the finances and travel. As AD Suggs mentioned, we just kind of found out, I guess, this week about the possible game, or I guess it's a reality game with Mississippi Valley. Prior to that, we had inserted Alabama A&M, but looks like it's going to be Mississippi Valley. So I would just say, I guess once AD Suggs get back and we talk further about the Mississippi Valley and the Southern travel schedule, because we do want to establish that relationship where we're going to Southern or Southern is coming to Tallahassee. And then, of course, the last game we're looking at traveling to right now, it will be, of course, the Florida Classic, and that's always sponsored by the consortium Florida Blue Citric Sports. And we added the line item of, and this wasn't a part of our budget last year, but of course, the SWAC commissioner has mandated for each school, as you know, to travel. And this was our budget last year for 30 students, 2 staff, and I think 8 or 10 cheerleaders and 2 staff, $45,000. If I'm correct, it might be off with the dollars on that one.
So,
And then
excuse me, Dr. Chipman, Chair Neighbors has a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Chair Neighbors, hey, Director Brother Chipman, I like how you did this slide. And it's something I was thinking about for athletics as well. When we break down discrete line items in the budget, it's very approachable for alumni donors, right? Hey, Metro Atlanta chapter, whomever, why don't you sponsor this is coming to your town? If we're ahead of the curve, they can raise money for that.
And that's a great comment,
Yeah.
because I was just thinking about Houston. I mean, we got 3 board members living in Houston. I don't want to put them on the hook for anything, but certainly the Yeah, I don't want to commit them to anything, but maybe the three of us plus Thomas Jones can do something. Have them come to the park and I don't know, something. But anyway, I
I'll
agree
just-
with Chair.
No, I'll
But-
just mention this.
Right.
So I got an email from, some of you may know Trent, used to be here at SGA. And so when we went to Houston in 2019, we were off that Sunday morning. And so before we departed, I took a group of 30 that went to this mega African-American church. And we were able to raise, they took a love offering and gave the band, I want to say it was like $5,000 on the spot. When we went to the Tournament of Roses, same thing. I took the office, we took the entire band to Bernard and Shirley Kinsey's first AME church. And so I took the officers and leaders inside, about maybe 20 students, and they provided support for the band. And we got a chance afterwards to fellowship with the alumni following the service. So to your point, I want to say I may have talked about this with Angela about, or maybe it was, or it may have been Kim Hankerson about when we go to some of these areas, maybe myself, and maybe a student or a drum major, something to go a day early and look at, asking the alumni for the support and let everybody know in advance, whatever the main hotel stay where we're going to have, having a reception, a light reception or whatever, and look into the alums that really would want, I think a lot of them would want to support if we put the mechanisms in place and with the right ask. And obviously the things that I have on screen along with some other bullet points are very important. So thank you for that and giving me the spirit to move in that direction.
So Dr. Chipman, this is really the money slide here, right?
Yes.
And so we're gonna have to wind down.
Yes.
Because we have our general meeting.
Okay.
Are there any other
No, I
slides
just
that you'd
wanted,
like-
I wanted Marvin to jump in real quick because part of this partnership as we're moving forward with the, and that's just the instruments I was talking about, the old and the new. You can keep going. But part of in the $1 million campaign fund that you'll be hearing about as we celebrate 40 years of our history of being the Sutler Band, which is we're the only HBCU band to ever receive that award. And so this is the 40th anniversary from 1985. So we're going to kick that off this year with the Endowed Scholarship Fund. And then, of course, Marvin will be working with the athletics and band, as we all know. And so I'd like for him to jump in and just talk about a couple of things. I did meet with he and Kim Hankerson at the foundation office on last week.
So before Marvin speaks, we have two questions on the screen. Director Harris and Director LeBou. Director Harris, you want to go first? Well, actually, let's let Director LeBou go first, and she hasn't.
That's
asked the
fine. That's
question.
fine.
Okay, and really mine is not a question. First, I just want to thank AD Tuggs as well as Dr. Chipman for your informative presentations. And please excuse me for not being on screen. I'm multitasking right now. But I just have to give a shout out to the class of 1983. We are just getting started, or a couple years ago, as far as our endowment, but we've highly supported the Marching 100. And I would be remiss without, doing a shout out for my class to mention all of the support that has been provided. And we look forward to continuing to support what you all do and the students that work so hard in the band as well as athletics.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Director Harris?
Yeah, so I just really quickly, first of all, thank you, Dr. Chipman and AD Suggs, but Dr. Chipman specifically, thank you so much for this presentation, highlighting all of the phenomenal things that the band has done this year. My niece is a trumpet player in the March 100. She actually went to Coachella, so we have been following the band very intently this year. And so one of the things that you mentioned, which I really hope that we do this, is when we are traveling and the Marching 100 is traveling, I'm a firm believer that the people that can get folks to donate are the students. And if we have a reception before any event is happening and you get some students to come and speak and talk about their experience in the band, I think that would generate much more support, in my opinion, than a foundation member ever could, because we're not there physically in the band every day. And so to the extent that you can identify some student leaders on campus, when you do these trips, going to speak to alumni, having some small reception to get the students engaged. It's the student engagement. It also teaches the students about the necessity of giving and starting that giving process very early. but you mentioned it, and I just wanted to kind of reinforce that. And I hope that that's something that we really do. And to the extent that you come to Atlanta, when you all come to Atlanta, I'm all here for trying to figure out how to incorporate those students in whatever reception we do. But kudos to you. I'm very happy to see this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So Director Arnold, real quick, and then we'll let Dr. Chipman respond, and then we'll close out with Marvin.
Yeah, thank you, Director Humphreys. I think it's understated what, and I'm traveling here, I apologize, but I think it's understated what Dr. Chipman is doing as it relates to the graduates, graduating 53 members, and that's every, that's not an average, but that's the recent number. But I think it just goes to show the completion, one, from an attraction aspect to the university, to the Marching 100, and then being able to have those students graduate and go on to do greater things with the experience that they attain while being members of the Marching 100 is something that we must not understate. That is a great and a large accomplishment. And I think it's rivaled only to what Director Oriaku mentioned earlier with the student athletes. I think much needs to be said as well to what our scholar athletes do as members of the Marching 100.
Okay. Director Chipman, can you respond
Yes.
before we turn
Yes,
it over
I
to
just
Marvin?
want-
But in your response, can you give us the one big beautiful ask?
Well, the one big beautiful ask, thank you for that, would be to support the scholarships that are needed so that our students can stay in school. We need to support with the scholarship fund from that slide that you saw, and I will forward this to, of course, brother Neighbors as well as yourself. That would be the biggest thing. The trips, I know that the alums can support us with as we ask, but if we don't have the students here and they're struggling to pay these balances that they have, and the good thing is all the students are in good shape now. I think they all are within that $500 or less that you have to have in order to register. But I am concerned moving forward about awarding scholarships to the students, first years particularly, that are out there waiting on us to respond. And so that's something I'll continue to work not only with you, but with the university leadership team with.
Okay, thank you. Did you make the ask?
Yes.
Okay, no number value attached to it, just scholarship?
Well, the number that I have was
Okay, all right.
$500,000.
No, the
You
chair,
put that book-
no, the chair asked me to get a number.
The number on
Alright.
screen you see here, if I did all the math on my budget that I have here, the ask is it's $936,000.
All right,
That's the big ask.
so, yeah, so that's been recorded.
Yep.
Okay, Marvin, and then we're gonna close out.
I will wrap it up. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak. And my main points are here. We want to be able to raise the bar from year to year for what we do for the band. We want to get away from the emergency support on an annual basis because our program needs to have a more sustainable model from year to year in regards to wants, needs, and growth. And that's what we're doing right now is identifying what those wants, needs, and growth opportunities are. And this can only be done through proper planning, of course. But what is the band? The band is a true brand, and it's the wraparound to our university's front porch. We say that athletics is the front porch. The wraparound to that porch, of course, is the Marching 100. And I think one of the things we need to do is we talk about return on investment. Sometimes people think about the fact that when the band travels and they're on the field for that 7.5 minutes, and you say we put this much money into that travel and they had a 7-minute performance, how many people go home when they leave Orlando, Miami, Atlanta, and decide to look up Florida A&M University and enroll in the university? So sometimes the return on investment is actually through admission in dollar amount that we need to start trying to capture. What are some of the reasons that people choose FAMU? The other thing is we want to make our band members more personable, correct? These are students who are more than just band members. They're School of Business graduates, pharmacy students, nursing, etc. And so when we can take the students out of their uniform and see them literally the band members as students who are achieving in other aspects of university life, we think that actually gets a connection. So to the director who actually mentioned about having students talk, we're already on that page trying to put together marketing materials so that you can kind of connect more from the student perspective individually as well. Because just like Chair Neighbor said, you want to get to the point where guess what? You're personalizing
can I support this student? Can I support this person who's in this major, doing some of the same things that we did with the students as well? And so those are yearly achievements on and off the field that allows us to have a great source of school pride. So what is our solution? We want to be able to grow the operating budget. We want to design fundraising campaign and targeted giving campaigns. And I think one of the ways that can be done, we talk about corporate sponsorships, but guess what? There are so many alums right now who have what we would call small businesses that are doing very well. How many alums do we have who own insurance agencies? How many alums do we have who own real estate agencies? Can we target those alums who never probably have thought in terms of a corporate, quote unquote, ask or give, but will be willing, to give to the March 100 to athletics in that way? I think the March 100 could be one of the ideal, probably first, NIL agreements as a group. Think of the band as a NIL, and who would want to partner with the band for name, image, and likeness rights as well. And so we want to start soliciting major donors from the broader alumni base. We can't just target former band members and say, you all should give to the band, because there's so many people, as I've been learning from AVP Hankinson and AVP Tatum Frederick, in regards to how we categorize who we go after. And so when you talk about affinity groups, when you talk about major giving, there's so many different ways that we can target people who literally have their connection to the university is through the band, whether they participated or not. So let's give them an opportunity to be a part of the solution. And so, like I said earlier, we just want to be able to get back to that return on investment and be able to understand that as we're talking about athletics, we say that, as A.D. Suggs says a lot, we are a voluntary member of the NCAA. And so we have 14 sports, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but we have to almost look at the band as our 15th sport, because we have to make sure that that package deal she talked about earlier, putting on that Super Bowl production on a week-to-week basis during the fall, we have to support that production collectively. And so that's what we will be going out. That's how we will champion this relationship moving forward, making sure that we target the right people who want to build, partner with a brand that is worldwide, a worldwide brand that you want to partner with. And that will be the way that we move forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So we have one last question. The vice chair is going to close this out with a question.
Yep. So thank you, Marvin, for those comments. And I think you hit something really strong with the NIL for the band. And what I think there may be a grand opportunity for is for us to have a unique value proposition to the marketplace by having our athletics and band presented in a deal or in deals that allow us to get in front of people differently than the competition. I'm happy to set up meetings in Atlanta with brands and with others with that value proposition. So, and Dr. Chipman, I want to see the band at the highest levels of engagement with athletics. I think the key is, what is our grand value proposition, and what is it we could bring to the table that other universities cannot? And if there's an NIL structure that we can pull together between the two components that allow us to walk in with a band member or with a with a student athlete and our coaches and our band director, then I think we should think creatively like that. There's enough of us in Atlanta and some of the other markets where I think we can at least start those conversations. I think, there's infrastructure things we still need to carry it forward to close deals, but I really think that's a big, big opportunity that we have. I don't know if we fully opened the can on how that can be leveraged.
All right, thank you. All right, so that's not like a comment more than a question, right?
It is. Well, then I guess the question would be, have we looked at how we sell this as a combo? Have we done that in the past?
Not to my knowledge, no, we have not. Not as a combo.
Only with our classic games, neutral site games, other that, but going out in terms of NIL corporate support, we've not.
Okay. All right. So listen, great conversation, right? it was really important for us to have this meeting. I know it's a pact. I know some will have to leave. But this is really important. Shakisha Kidd and Director Arnold and some others did some really great work last year. And, you know, we're kind of just now getting back to, you know, establishing the committee. So I thought it was important that we schedule this and have it, right? So I appreciate everyone's patience. And 80 Suggs, you and I go back to high school together, right? Baby Rattlers. So, you know, thank you so much. You know, I'm looking forward to all the great things that you're gonna bring to us into the university. And Dr. Chipman, thank you so much for your time. One of these days, I'm gonna remind you of a funny story about how you walked up on me on the set when I was a kid. I'll share that with you one day. Yeah, I think you'll get a nice laugh out of it. So really good conversation. The one thing that I would like to end with is, you know, first of all, who coined this phrase that the football team is the front porch and the band is a wraparound? Because I've heard 3 or 4 people say it, and I'm just curious. I thought you, Chair Neighbors, coined that. The wraparound. Who coined that? Okay, we'll take it offline. We'll take it offline. We'll take it offline. But I just want to remind everyone, you know, and I was talking to Director Uzel about this, and I'm probably going to end every meeting this way, and you guys just indulge me. Again, from 1988 to 2001, FAMU had the greatest aggregation of Black talent in the nation. There's not a university in this country that has the amount of talent that came out during that period of time. You guys are captains of industry. You guys are entrepreneurs. You guys are everything, right? I mean, part of the reason why I want to be on this board, because I'm in awe of all of the achievements and the talent that sits around this table and everywhere I go, okay? So with that, right, with that responsibility, right, comes the need for us to step up. One of the things that we have to do, and this is really important, because I think about these other schools, is that we have to think about giving as a board, right? Almost like tithing to the church, right? We need to give to it almost hurts. If you love the university the way I do, and I know that all of you do, right? And everybody's giving, so it's not a criticism. I'm just saying, let's try to lean in a little bit more, right? Let's lean in a little bit more. And then for all of you guys that were part of that group, reach out to those folks, reconnect them, right? And make sure that you're challenging them to dig deep, right? Another thing that we need to start doing, we're sending folks to the NFL, right? Every time I've now seen on numerous occasions where players that went and got drafted, got a contract, gave back to the NIL, the school they came from. Now, I know that some of our players aren't getting the $10 and $15 million deals, but they're getting $3, $4, $5 million deals, right? And, you know, it may be a different proposition for them because it may be more tenuous. That's okay. But let's try to keep them connected to us. And let's, you know, remind them in a loving way that, you know, we worked together for you to achieve what you've achieved. And an NIL gift or gift in general would be greatly appreciated, right? So we can continue to build that pipeline and continue to bring folks through our system and into the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, etc. So with that, are there any other items to come before the committee? If not, may I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved. React.
All right. Thank you so much. I think this is a good meeting, and I'm looking for a really good partnership. One of the things that I'll follow up with you and Dr. Chipman, and then start to get some action items, and then we'll bring that back to the board and start executing. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Amen. Yeah. Appreciate your committee chair. Take rolling bio breaks? Okay. All right, let's go. You go ahead. You can do it. Yeah, I'm gonna open up, if y'all don't mind, and then everybody, you know, it's like high school, go to the bathroom when you need to. Right?
let me say this real quick because I love a good band and football discussion. I know a lot of you Bama's probably watching, ain't here for that. Let me say this. I do not care what you're talking about. There is not a battle of the bands that is paying a band $100,000 to show up and blow notes. Okay, it's not happening. I don't give a damn if Dollar Watson's putting behind it. I don't give a damn if it's Nick Cannon putting it behind it. Nobody is paying bands $100,000 to show up and blow notes. It ain't happening, right? So again, it's a profit and loss margin. Okay, if I gotta put $1 million into a band when all you're able to do is garner 60,000 here, 40,000 here, 20,000 here, 10,000 there. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Period. And again, even if you go to the Power 5 conferences, right? Because let's talk about it. They have the money to travel their whole band. They don't do it. They bring a pep band. They bring a small section of the band to travel with the team because, again, it ain't about them. It's about the football team, right? But again, when you get into the HBCU arena and band is that important, you will incur the expense of taking 375 people across the country to have a battle of the bands, where you're adding an expense to where if you didn't take the band, you would have more money. But since you did take the band, now I got to pay more money. Again, we've realized that the football, listen to Mr. Garcia, we can have this discussion. The football team funds athletics. That's facts. It's not hearsay. It's not. Football funds athletics, most of the department outside of the NCAA money, which most teams can't get. Right? So again, the band is a bigger. That's one event. It's one event. Whoop-de-doo. How many band of the year events are they giving you? In a perfect example, because listen, first of all, your band is not even that good, if I'm being honest. But that's neither here nor there, right? But my whole point is this. At the end of the day is this, right? You're asking, if he's asking for $1 million, and the only event that you can bring up to me is a ESPN Battle of the Band, which happens one time a year, which paid you $100K, that seems like a bigger loss than it'd ever be a bigger win. Listen, man, at the end of the day, bro, it's overrated. I'm sorry. The band is overrated. Having a band, it's overrated. It's more of an expense than it is anything else. Now, granted, does it bring you publicity to your school? Absolutely. If you're getting put in a Macy's Day Parade, if you're getting put in the Super Bowl, if you're doing, that's great. But it's still an expense. It is a big expense. And then dry cleaning them long tails that them drum basses be spinning and twirling. I don't even want to see the dry cleaning bill. That shit's ridiculous. All this flapping of it be hitting the ground, and you got to get it dry cleaned like every week. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Anyway, 12 to 15 events of $60K. Maybe, and that's that. You might get $60K. You might. Again, the point, this is my point. I don't give two shits if you do 30 events. If it doesn't cover your expense, what benefit is it? What benefit is it? If you're telling me, if you're asking me for money and you're doing events and they're not paying your bills, what is the point? Either you got to do more events, which then incurs a bigger expense, or you need to get paid more money. You need to be asking for a lot more money to do the events that you're asked to do. Very simple. I know FAMU's business department has been under a little shaky since the Harambe situation. right? Because you're business dean. But I think that's simple business. That if I have an expense and the expense that I have does not cover itself in the event of, like the events that I'm doing, it's not covering my expenses, something has to change. It's very simple. But again, being the #1 public HBCU, I think you should understand that. But maybe not. Come on, man. It costs you $100K to get there. You go and win 60. What we talking about? What we talking about? What are we talking about? Yeah. But again, right? Football funds the other. Like, if you don't have football, as big as an expense football is, it does fund other programs. That's why it's the main course. Band can't even fund its damn self. What are we talking about here? Band can't even fund its own shit. But yet and still, it's trying to be the main course. How does that even work? Football is like the grandma taking care of everybody's business. And band is like the baby mama who got 3 kids. You're like, damn, get a job. Like, the grandma can't keep watching your kids for you. That's my issue. You can't even fund yourself. But football, where does all the, what did Deion say? Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck. What did Deion say? I'm not going to put my kids in a money game to get beat up on just so they can put that money in the general fund. Dog, do you not Oh my God. I swear, maybe if you're in the band, you don't take business. The nigga just got up on and said, we need $1 million. So even if the nigga don't even pay for him going to where he's going, he's still an expense. He is still the meals, the food, the kids, the bank. If he breaks an instrument, he is a walking expense. How does that not getting through your thick ass head? It doesn't matter if they don't pay to get there. They're still an expense. Jesus Christ, what are we talking about right now? Oh. I don't even think Southern does scholarships. I think I talked to Smash. Smash like Southern doesn't even do band scholarships. I'm about to open the call-ups up, Mr. DeGratier. Matter of fact, I would rather use the link. But go ahead, I'm gonna do it real quick. I don't give what table. I am the table. What table are you talking about? I am the table. You on this channel. You could take your happy ass to Zoom and watch it on Zoom. So what are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense. Nobody's talking about, oh my gosh, you Bama's are so freaking sensitive. Dog. It's very simple. That's it. It's very simple. That's it. Is that you got to make it make sense. You got to make it make sense. That's it. The band is like your 16-year-old daughter wanting this lavish prom. You're like, bro, I ain't got it like that. You got to make it work.
There is one other participant in the conference. All participants are muted.
Go ahead, Mr. DeGrazier.
Hey, let me turn my TV down real quick fast. Yes, sir. Hey, love this show. Appreciate what you're doing. I love the FAMU coverage. Thanks for keeping FAMUans and all the people across the HBCU landscape and all allies informed about what's going on. Again, I support you and thank you so much. So let's talk about the band. You know, when they got up there and you put the band part, you know the band nerd of me is going to come out and talk. So thanks for opening this for me. So Dr. Chipman put some numbers up there. And I'm looking at those numbers, and I immediately saw, like he said, $500K for scholarships. That's a drop in the bucket for, you know, we're talking probably 400 kids at that school. So, you know, when he was pressed to say, hey, give me the real number, I couldn't remember which gentleman asked him. He said, but he asked Dr. Chipman, what's the real number you need for scholarships?
Mm-hmm.
And then Chip said like 900, close to $1 million. And I immediately looked at all those numbers. I was like, they all should be doubled, at least double. I'm thinking the band needs to have a budget. I'm not saying the school needs to pay this. I'm just speaking hypothetically. The band probably needs a nice budget of about $3 million, $4 million to operate for all the things they do. So you're talking from the standpoint of the band supports the football team. I can't speak for other bands. I am a Marching 100 alumni. I can't speak for other bands, but the Marching 100 supports a whole bunch of school events. They are doing stuff. You saw he had a bullet point for the MEAC SWAC basketball challenge. The band is everywhere, bro. Like in homecoming weekend, they're doing like 5, 6, 7 shows on that Saturday, including the game.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
It is a
Okay.
lot of
Now,
stuff
if you're
that the band is
asking me,
doing.
okay, if I was a business, if I was a business owner, right, and you say
Yes, sir.
you came to me and said, Scotty, I need a $3 million salary. What am I going to ask of you? Can I make that off of you? If I pay you I only can pay you what you can. If you're asking me to pay you $3 million, am I going to at least make 4 off of you to get my money back?
That's a good question, and I'm going to answer it with a question. So, as someone who builds estimates and builds budgets, you know, for I've done these things. You put everything that you want. I tell people when I ask clients to give me what they want, I say spell out everything that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Pretend like you have all the money in the world, right? So these are you got to spell it out and say this is what I need to operate. Now we may not get that money. They're talking about the budget. They're talking about the FAMU Foundation about going out and raise this money. So this is the place you ask for everything that you want. That's why I think the number should have been higher, because he's not going to the school. He's talking to donors and people who can fundraise on behalf of the band. And this is where you go in and say spell out everything. He should have had all his events that he had on there, like everything the band does just for homecoming weekend. Man, it should have spelled that all out. I've been working with my alumni chapter, and we're talking about fundraising and the ways that we can support. I love this conversation, and not to beat a dead horse, but I like the slide. I like what Dr. Chipman said. He says we need support, and I like what he put up there. The model that we're currently having, the model that we're currently working under is unsustainable, and we're starting to see band programs across the board struggle. Like TSU is some issues.
Because you have an absorbent amount of people, and you don't have the financial budgets to sustain it. That's really what it is. Like, listen, at the end of the day, no matter how much it's okay. You know what? Let's keep it funky, right? And I'll go in my area. I hate when people bring up NIL. I really do. It really bothers me when HBCUs bring up NIL. It really bothers me because why? It's a money pit. It is a money pit. There is no benefit. If I pay Irv Mulligan $1,200 a month, there's nothing that Irv Mulligan is doing that is going to bring me back that money unless, okay, you win the Celebration Bowl, but then I got to go out and go get a new guy to pay $1,500, $1,600, $1,700. And if they don't win a championship, what purpose was it, right? And that pot of money has to continually keep getting replenished. It takes people to...
Okay, folks, give us about 20 more seconds. We're settling in.
Okay, so
we're going to start
you have all that replenishment. It's the same thing for the band. For me, right, is that now
2025.
You're asking me. Hold on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm trying to see if I can turn this audio down real quick. If you're asking me to give you $3 million.
Good afternoon, board members, and welcome to our spring 2025 full board meeting.
All right.
This meeting marks our first in-person meeting for many of you. For those on the phone in teleconference mode, thank you so much for your participation. As usual, and I think this has been a tradition for how many years now? That's a question and a statement. We've been convening at the same time as the FAMU NAA. This is the 10th year, and I think this is invaluable because we get real information ahead of time, right? We get pressing information on time, and we can make good budgetary decisions, right? And then we also celebrate with each other, in fellowship. So I want to thank the NAA, as usual, my man, Director Johnson. Before that, Colonel Clark, right, for being part of that tradition and representing us well. I'd also like to acknowledge that interim president, Dr. Timothy Beard, could not be with us for this set of meetings. He had a family engagement that I confirmed was urgent, and his absence is excused. All right, so we're gonna put that in the record. But in any event, I now call the general board meeting to order. Nick, could you please call the roll and confirm a quorum?
Chair Kenneth Neighbors,
Present.
Vice Chair Terrell Whitley,
Present.
Director Tawana Monroe Ward. I see you here, ma'am. I'm
Present.
No, thank you. Director Sean Bryant Abney. Dr. Timothy Beard. Director Angela Adderley.
Present.
Director Elaine Armster. Director Terry Arnold. Director Arnold. Okay, I see you here, sir. I'll mark you present. Director Rebecca Brown. Director Gregory Clark.
Present.
Director Josetta Coleman.
Present.
Director Director Brandon Tatum Frederick.
Present.
Director Jeffrey Francis.
Present.
Director Marcelia Freeman.
Here.
Director Jamal Gibson.
Present.
Director Clifton Goins. Director John Green.
Present.
Director Billy Greer. Director Monica Williams Harris.
Present.
Director Erica Hill. Director Lawrence Humphreys.
Present.
Director Curtis Johnson Jr. Director Chakisha Kidd.
Present.
Director Lenitra King. Director Lisa LeBou.
Present.
Director Ebenezer Oriaku.
Present.
Director Freddie Raines. Director TJ Rose. Director G. Scott Uzel. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you as usual, Nick. We're gonna do the normal run of show, 2 housekeeping items. If you're making a motion or a second, please state your name for the record. Also, for those participating virtually, and y'all have done a great job, remember to mute your devices so that we can avoid background noises. All right? Last of the protocol points, conflict of interest disclosure. At this time, board members are advised to disclose if a conflict of interest exists relative to any item on the agenda. All right, hearing none, we are conflict free. All right, approval of the minutes. The minutes for the April 30th and May 15th, 2025 general board meetings were made available for review. In accordance with our general counsel's recommendations, we will approve each set of minutes separately. May I have a motion for approval of the April 30th, 2025 general board meeting minutes? Director Hill on the first.
Second, Director Clark.
Director Clark on the second. All right, motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Any corrections, changes? Hearing none. All in favor of approval of the April 30th, 2025 minutes, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. All right. As to the May 15th, 2025 minutes, may I have a motion for approval of those?
So moved, Director Whitley.
Director Whitley on the first, Vice Chair Whitley. All right, second, Director Brown. Any discussion, any unreadiness? All right, hearing none, all in favor of approval of the May 15th, 2025 full board minutes, please indicate by the sign of aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Any opposed? Hearing none, also carries unanimously. All right. So this is the point where we do opening comments. Y'all probably have heard enough from me, but I think I'll get a few words in nonetheless. I really want to thank you all for your commitment. this is a working board. And if anybody had any questions, if they just watched the meetings that we just held, they would know, right? This is not a board you come on and you profile and then we're called to really do more. And I think Committee Chair Humphreys said it best. You know, if I had my druthers and we were a corporation, I'd say let's do a capital call, right? And because it's time for us to lead through the dark clouds that are here. And the dark clouds are really, we're kind of used to those, sadly, right? It's time for more sunshine, but we have to make sure that we give, and then we make sure that other people make sure they give. If it's directed giving to a specific cause, we've given any number of buckets that they can fill up. So I think our theme from the NAA is FAMU Forward, right? All right. So FAMU Forward, you know, what is our goal? Excellence with caring, right? How do we do that? What's the call to action? To whom much is given, much is required, right? And what do we not do, right? We don't impair the progress and growth of FAMU or her students or the faculty and the programs that we cherish, right? So for me, this is a privilege of a lifetime. If you looked at my stress indicator, I got up really good, right? And then it kind of just went up and then it came right down. But part of that, I think it came down because I like the dialogue, I like the discussion. And again, I show much respect for the work. So just a few updates for everyone, and I will really start moving out of the way. I am pleased to say, right, that as of one of the action items we'll take, we have completed the amendment of the foundation bylaws. We actually got that done early. They really were done last month through a matrix. Then we codified them in the amended and restated bylaws that we just talked about. Most of that was very consistent with the Alexander Haas recommendations, right? And those will be or have been forwarded to the Board of Trustees for their review and approval in June. It's next month, although next month is only 2 days away. The advancement team, I would be remiss if I didn't say that the advancement team has a new member, Mr. Marvin Green Jr. Is he here? Oh, man. Okay, well, I'll give him a shout out later. Yeah, that's not him. All right, so you know, he's going to serve as the division's major gift officer for athletics and marching 100. He got off to a great start, I think, as you've seen, right? And this is very meaningful. We had our every 3 years we get a operating or performance audit, right? No major weaknesses, right? No major issues. That's a victory, right? It speaks to our continued stewardship and the great work of the advancement team that I think you also heard Alexander Haas say, you know, they're doing more with less, right? And our call is to get them the systems and the bodies to actually, you know, do more with more, right? That's all we asked for, and we deserved it. We're about to kick off our annual audit. We pray for the 2024, 2025 audit to be like the past ones were, like clean or unmodified. I think Director Green is the new term of art. I'm dating myself. And we are in the midst of a transition of presidential leadership, right? I would be remiss if I didn't say that. And I am thankful for Interim President Beard for stepping in the gap. And as usual, we will serve the next president of this university, right? That's our mission. That's our job. I want to shout out a special welcome to Marvin Green Jr. I think he got off to a great start. We're gonna let him borrow the wraparound porch. It's big enough for everybody, right? All right, so much more for us to say, so much more for us to do. But you know, if we think we can rest on any laurels, we know we cannot, right? So the really call to action is for us to lean in, you know, reach every contact we can in a thoughtful manner with the advancement team. Let's rally the troops and let's push FAMU forward. All right. I was supposed to pass the baton to our most capable trustee, Chair Harper, but I'm going to hold that time for later, right? And so now is the time for our NAA president, Mr. Curtis Johnson Jr. Director Curtis Johnson Jr. to tell us a little bit about the FAMU National Alumni Association convention and give his thoughts on behalf of Rattler Nation. But Director Johnson, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Chair, neighbors. Thank you all. Hey, welcome to Frisco, right? Hopefully you have had a great time last night at our reception for there. We have the food truck tonight. So your convention registration covers that. We're gonna have some food trucks out here on the upper deck. You will get a $25 voucher to start you off. And if you need to go beyond that, then certainly you are welcome to do that. If you have other guests, the food trucks will just accept payment. But by far, Frisco has been a tremendous convention. We've had great excitement. The NAA, they're really delighted in the information that was shared here. We are ahead of schedule, but we shared a lot of information. We clarified a lot of issues and challenges and just really had a great town hall downstairs to kind of reset and understand that our mission here is to serve the students and helping recruit them to Florida A&M University, supporting them getting through, and then connecting to communities when they graduate. And so that was well received. We've moved beyond the whole emotion and passion. I echo your sentiments is that we have to support these students at FAMU. We have over 300 applications right now, 100 plus from freshmen, and the rest are returning students asking for financial support in our national scholarship program. In the years, we've given over $100,000. So we're going to go through and evaluate that and determine how we're going to award this 300 plus students with some type of financial support. That's over and above the SOS fund that Dr. Hudson and I work with when we get those calls from students that need a few dollars here to bridge the gap so that they're continuing to move forward and the performance metrics of graduating on time. And that's important. I think beyond, what we all know that the university is in transition as well, the NAA is in transition. This is my last meeting with you as president of FAMU National Alumni Association. It's been an honor to work with this group to collectively address some great opportunities to work together, bridge the gap. Ms. Brandy, you're going to be a welcome addition to continuing that relationship with the NAA. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered. I just challenge them. Our biggest thing right now is compliance. We're way out of compliance in the NAA, and we are addressing that with a real vigor, because in the climate that we're in the state of Florida, we are not going to be out of compliance on any level. I told you earlier, the joke was there are two people I hated to hear from. One was Tanya Ware and the other was Joe Malashevsky, right? And we're going to get that right for these NAA, the chapters, to make sure we have good governance for the NAA, because this is the vehicle to get us where we need to go with our students. And so I would challenge all of you, if you're not a member of the National Alumni Association, if you have not gotten your life membership in the National Alumni Association, I challenge you to do so, because when it's all said and done and we leave our earthly home, that money is still supporting students at Florida A&M University. There's no greater gift that you can do than supporting these students. No parties, no flowers, no shout outs. That money supports students. And I'm not talking about a lot of money. Sometimes $500, $1,000 makes a big difference. And so as I close out, the new administration will be in transition starting after this convention. We'll transition. There's a lot to transition. And so, Ms. Artisha Polk she's the president-elect. She will come in as the 20th president of FAMU National Alumni Association. She will assume this position here and go forward with that on behalf of the National Alumni Association. So again, it's been an honor. I won't go far, but we certainly must remain engaged at this point, especially in the state of Florida. And strategically, we need to be thinking 18 months from now on where we are. And that's what I've challenged the NAA is to say, we got to be down the track 18 months from now. Major change is going to be happening in the state of Florida. And we need to make sure that Rattlers are just aware and engaged. And then we also use that as opportunities to begin to build strategies on how we're going to make sure FAMU lives on forever. So thank you. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to watching you guys continue to do this work. I'll just sit in one place right now. I'll be thinking about you when I have my bourbon and my cigar at the Florida
Look.
Classic.
Let's give him a round of applause, Anthony. Point of personal privilege, I always liked Curtis or Director Johnson, because he bumped into my father years ago and always says, "Hey, how's your dad doing?" Those little things, right? And so we know we're gonna call him. It's good to have really good board alumni, by the way, because y'all know what we do and you know what we need, and you can make phone calls for us, right? So we're gonna keep you on speed dial, and you will be missed. Appreciate you. All right, with that, I think Chair Harper is not back yet. Who's? Okay. All right. So, not here. All right, we will now move to reporting of action items and informational items from the committees we've just heard from today. Here to provide a recap are the chairs of each committee. I will begin with the Development Committee report. Committee Chair Whitley will present that report, and you now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The Development Committee has one action item and one informational item to present to the board. So first of all, I'd like to also welcome Marvin Green as the Major Gift Officer for Athletics and for the Marching 100. Thank you, Marvin, for all that you do. We look forward for your success in that role. The action item we have is for calendar year 2025 Foundation Board Member fundraising goal. The Development Committee approved a calendar year 2025 Foundation Board Member fundraising goal of $1 million by December 31st, 2025. Mr. Chair, the Development Committee recommends that the full board approve the calendar year 2025 Foundation Board Member fundraising goal of $1 million.
All right, you've heard the report. I'll entertain a motion.
Director Johnson, I move that motion forward.
Is there a second? All right, Director Johnson first, Director Hillman second. Any unreadiness, any discussion? All in favor of that recommendation, indicate so by the sign of aye. Aye. Right? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kim Hankerson provided the University Advancement Update 2024 progress to goal amount is $15,352,515.08 has been raised to date. The 2023-2024 amount raised was $22,578,359.80, which is a $7,225,844.72 difference. Next is the progress of the foundation board goal. So our goal again is $1 million for 2025 to 2026. Thus far, we've raised $244,037.66, which represents 24% of the foundation goal. 2 out of 23 have met their give requirement. As a note, I will be receiving a report and then reaching out to members to let them know where they are within their give space at this juncture. 17 of 28 members have donated. Informational item, finalized board members' assignments for schools and colleges. The committee finalized the board member assignments for school and colleges. Directors will meet with their assigned deans and provide an update to the foundation board with needs and goals for each school and college. Mr. Chair, this concludes the Development Committee's report.
Chair/Vice Chair Whitley, I appreciate the report. And I would just say this, I'm on another board, as y'all will hear all the time, and it is often times that board members do give at the back end of the fiscal year or the calendar year. This year, we're asking folks, if you can't, don't do that, right? Let's continue to make a show of force. But again, thank you. All right, with that, we're gonna move to our Investment Committee report. Director Marcelia Freeman will present that for us. Director Freeman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Investment Committee has one informational item to present to the board. New business presentation by Discipliner at our outsourced CIO. The discipline of staff provided a market summary for the first quarter of 2025, a review of the investment portfolio performance as of Q1 2025, a custodian transition update, as well as a market outlook. Disciplina provided the market summary for 2025 as of 3/31, with U.S. equities at -5%, fixed income at 3%, emerging markets equity at 3%, real estate at 1%, and commodities at 9%. That's the performance numbers, not allocation numbers. Disciplina stated that the endowment pool is at $171 million. The investment return for the quarter is 0.3%, as compared to a benchmark of 0.2%. For 1 year, it's at 6.3% compared to the benchmark of 6.1%. In addition, Disciplina stated that the portfolio allocation is 30% to passive investments, 70% to active investments. And of the total portfolio, 40% is allocated to diverse and women managers. The operating pool investment quarter to date is 1.9% return, and the return for 1 year is at 6.4%. The returns have beat the benchmark of 1% and 5%, respectively, and the operating pool at the end of the quarter is $27.2 million. Disciplina stated that the custodian transition to U.S. Bank is in process and on schedule to transfer assets by June 2nd, 2025. Disciplina gave also a market outlook summary. It stated that inflation has been sticky due to home and shelter prices, as well as tariffs that have provided upward pressure. The labor market and U.S. consumer having been resilient, and most developed central banks, developed market central banks are in easing mode, with U.S. dollar and treasuries appearing to have lost their safe haven status, and that there is kind of maximum policy uncertainty in Washington, D.C. That said, Mr. Chair, this concludes the Investment Committee's report.
Director Freeman, always a pleasure. Excellent work. I challenge anybody to find a better investment committee. And I also want to compliment Disciplina on their diligence and their hard work for us. I think that was an excellent hire, personally speaking. So, but in any event, thank you again. Director John Green, who is the vice chair, actually the chair of audit, you got next. You did 2 presentations for me, but if you wouldn't mind presenting the report of the audit committee, Director Green.
Good evening again, Mr. Chair. The audit committee has 2 information items to present to the board. Information item number 1. Do you hear me? Thank you so much. Mrs. Allison of BCA Watson Rice presented the audit approach, principal areas of focus, the plan delivery, and proposed timeline for the audit of the financial statement and the related schedules for fiscal year 24-25. The firm expects to present the audit results to the committee on or before September 30th, 2025, and issue a report by October 3rd, 2025. The IRS Form 990 is expected to be presented at the due date at the November 2025 meeting, prior to the due date of the audit of the 990 form. Presentation number 2 was for the operational audit by Clifton Larson Allen, review of the 2025. That is again the operational audit. Per the bylaws, we are required to complete an operational audit every 3 years. This is the 3rd year. Clifton Larson Allen staff presented the 2025 Business Opportunity Assessment Report with observations and recommendations to the committee. CLA staff stated that their review did not find any significant or material control problems or weaknesses as of May 2025, but there are opportunities for improvement. CLA provided to the committee some detailed recommendations. These recommendations are to be discussed and evaluated by the committee for implementation and reported back to the general body as a action item in our fall meeting. Mr. Chair, this concludes the audit committee report.
All right, Director Green, fine job as ever. And again, congratulations to the entire advancement team for that. I think that resounding and positive performance on the operating audit. And again, we got to stop taking for granted like these victories, right? It's only guaranteed by our hard work. But in any event, all right. So next we'll have Director Tawana Monroe Ward, Chair of our August Finance Committee, to present on the Finance Committee, or the Finance Committee report. Director Monroe Ward. She on there? All right, we're gonna have Committee Vice Chair Raines on the presentation.
All right, Mr. Chair, the Finance Committee has one information item to present to the board. Fiscal year 25-26 proposed operating budget amendment. The Finance Committee discussed the fiscal year 25-26 operating budget proposed amendment. The amendment focused on 3 line items within the budget: university president compensation, post-president faculty position, Dr. Robinson, interim university president compensation, Dr. Beard. The committee discussed the proposed amendment and approved tabling approval of the amendment until additional information is provided regarding additional funding requests for the priorities needs at the university. Mr. Chair, this concludes Finance Committee's report.
All right, always good, Director Raines. I appreciate you stepping in there. Outstanding job. All right, moving ever so quickly. We'll now hear from Committee Vice Chair Green, this time got it right, on the Bylaws Committee report.
Again, good evening, Mr. Chair. The Bylaws Committee has one action item to present to the board. Review of the bylaws recommended amendment. Attorney Haygood reviewed the proposed amendments to the foundation bylaws with the committee. Mr. Chair, the Bylaws Committee recommends that the full board approve the proposed amendments to the FAMU Foundation bylaws.
All right, you've heard the report and the request. Is there, can I entertain a motion to approve the amended and restated FAMU Foundation bylaws?
Director Goins, so moved.
Director Goins on the
Director
first.
Harris second. Director Harris
Direct-
second.
Director Harris on the second. All right, Madam Committee Chair, appreciate that. All right, any discussion? Any unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor of the amended and restated bylaws indicate by the sign of aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Fine work. Y'all gave up a lot. The board gave up a lot, right? And so, you know, I pray that we can now focus on raising money. Okay, so we're gonna send this forward and present out, and hopefully they are accepted. All right, with that said, I think we are down to, last but not least, the committee report of Committee Chair Lawrence Humphreys on the Athletics M100 Committee. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Athletics Marching 100 Financial Sustainability Plan Committee has several informational items to present to the board. Number 1, Department Update Strategic Plan Overview. VP AD Suggs provided the committee with an overview of the funding priorities for the athletics department. The committee agreed to work with AD Suggs and her team to find areas to collaborate to provide resources to support department initiatives. 2, Marching 100, Dr. Shelby Chipman, Director of Bands. Dr. Chipman presented the committee with an overview of the resource challenges currently facing the Marching 100. Dr. Chipman believes scholarships is his biggest area of need and requests $500,000 to support this effort. The committee congratulated Dr. Chipman for the marching band's recent success as the band of the year. The committee conveyed their continued support for the Marching 100 and will work to identify opportunities to increase resource support for the Marching 100. Mr. Chair, this concludes the Athletics Marching 100 Financial Sustainability Committee's report.
Yeah, it was. Director Humphries. Thank you so much. Right. And I think, for those in Rattler Land listening, you now hear the numbers, right, that we're faced with. And because of the state funding limits, right, there's nobody but us that's going to get it done. So let's go. I mean, folks want championships, right? What do you call them? Chips. They want outstanding Marching 100, right? We want outstanding passage rates for first time takers of pharmacy license exams and nursing exams and the Florida bar, right? And that takes money. And so, we are the people. Nobody else is going to do it. So let's go. All right. With that, I will gladly turn over the mic to our executive director, Dr. Anthony Neal.
Thank you, Chair Neighbors. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to spend just a little time with you this afternoon. I'm going to share information in regards to our fundraising, just sort of recapping some of the information that Director Whitley shared earlier as part of the development committee's report. But I also want to spend a significant amount of my time providing at the April 30th board meeting, included in the budget presentation, was the recommended finances for 2 additional fundraising positions. Today, I would like to provide all of you with the business plan behind my decision to make the recommendations for 2 additional hire. Over the course of the last couple of days, we have heard consistently about the need for additional resources. You heard from Provost Watson during her presentation talk about one of the key components of recruiting and retaining the best and the brightest is making certain that we have scholarship funds for our students to continue, for us to recruit the best and the brightest. You heard today from the athletic department, from the athletic director, as well as the band director, talk about the need for additional dollars for their respective areas. So today I want to just spend a little time with you in terms of my plan, my business plan to justify the need for two additional fundraisers. Now, as I stated, the finances behind those positions were approved at the April 30th board meeting, but I want to share with you my plan for using for how we for the justification for those positions. But before I get started, Nick, you go next slide, please. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the University Advancement team, and they're all listed here. You know our frontline fundraisers. You know Audrey, you know Kim, you know Brandy, and now you know Marvin. But you may not know some individuals who play a very significant role behind the scene. We have Jennifer, who's here today, Jennifer Lee. We have raise your hand, Jennifer. We have Jennifer. We have Kiana Lowe. Kiana handles our marketing, our communications, our messaging, which is very important for our fundraising effort. And we also have Kashonda Gilcrease back there, raise your hand, who manages our scholarships and our endowment pieces. So I wanted to just take a moment to acknowledge them. They are here today in support of you, in support of the foundation's board. And it's tough, being on the road, away from family, away from your comfort zone, but I appreciate them coming and giving up their time to support this body. So thank you, team. I take my role as Vice President of University Advancement and supporting my team and being an advocate for my team very seriously. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. Next slide, please, Nick. You heard previously, next slide. Okay. Thank you, Kim. So you've heard about our fundraising efforts for this year thus far. Our goal was 25 million. We're not going to hit that number. We're not going to hit that $25 million number this year.
We have another 1 month remaining in this fiscal year. We will receive additional contributions. And probably to the extent we may get up to 17, 18, 19 million, but we're not going to hit that 25 million. You heard Kim explain during her presentation this morning that $7 million of that, or $6 million of that, is from two foundation gifts that we don't expect to receive this year. So I want to just highlight that in terms of our overall fundraising. That number is going to be down. Our new cash is about pretty much where it was last year, and so our pledges and planned gifts. Next slide, please, Kim. This graph is reflective of how things have trended over the course of the last few years. Corporations, our gifts from corporations have decreased. Our gifts from foundations have decreased. Our overall gifts from alums remain pretty much the same in terms of our overall giving from our graduates. Next slide, please. And this is our trend over the course of the last 10 years. As you can see, from 20, 22, 23, 24, prime years for us in terms of fundraising. We really knocked the box out. Outstanding job from our team. And you've heard before, just to use an old boxing phrase, our team are boxing above their weight class in terms of how they generate resources. And that's one of the reasons why I'm advocating for them today. I'm advocating for additional positions, because not only do they punch above their weight class, but they also are responsible for 2 or 3 roles, positions that are not typically associated with frontline fundraisers. You know our frontline fundraisers, Kim, Brandy, Audrey, those are our and now Marvin. Those are our frontline fundraisers. Those are the folks that are out there making the ask, you know, so they are always out there. But in addition to that, they also have 2 or 3 other responsibilities associated with their jobs, which is unheard of in this level of fund at major institutions fundraising. If you're a frontline fundraiser, then you're not responsible for managing scholarships. You're not responsible for managing endowment. Our team members here have those responsibilities also, and it takes them away from their primary responsibilities, raising money, making the ask. Next slide, Kim. An update on our day of giving, 1887 strikes. As you can see, the last column, 2025, you see our overall numbers are down. Overall number of donors are up, particularly in terms of new donors. But as you can see, that's a pretty significant drop off from 2024 to 2025. Again, you're seeing that trend where we're not raising as much as we have raised in previous years, despite the fact that we now have more donors. We know where we fell off in terms of those few corporations or individuals that made significant gifts as part of our day of giving in 2024. Those corporations and individuals did not give at those levels this year. Next slide. Foundation update. Overall, from the foundation standpoint, the foundation is doing very well in terms of our endowment, in terms of our investment goal. You heard from the investment committee earlier today. Our overall investment value is almost $200 million, which is the value now is $197 million, which is right in range of the 2027 investment value goal per our strategic plan. So we're right there. So the investment committee, kudos to our investment committee for their work in terms of making certain that our endowment value is continuing to increase. Next slide, please. Our financial statements, the overall operation of the foundation is solid. We've had clean audits. You heard from CLA and our operational audit today. They indicated overall that it's a clean, that our operations are sound, they're solid, and we're in a good position. Next slide, please. This is my business case for hiring new team members, why we desperately need new fundraisers. And I'm gonna read some of this, but I'm not gonna read all of it because, I mean, you're quite intelligent, you can read, but I really want to cover this in terms of the executive summary. You know, FAMU is poised to expand our fundraising capacity to meet increasing financial needs and advance its strategic goal. You've heard all week over the course of the last two days about the increasing financial needs. We have a strong legacy, a mission-driven culture with significant untapped fundraising potential. You heard me mention yesterday that our brand is a national brand, but we fundraise primarily in the Southeast. Our proposed hiring professional fundraisers to expand our donor outreach, increase annual giving, and secure more major gifts. More major gifts. New personnel is expected to yield a strong return on investment, and strengthen FAMU's long-term financial sustainability. Next slide, please. Here are the problem statements. We're facing increasing financial demand to support, as you've heard over the course of the last few days, scholarships, infrastructure, academic excellence, athletics, and student success initiatives. Our current fundraising capacity is limited due to a small development team, resulting in missed opportunities to cultivate donors, pursue major gifts, and strengthen alumni engagement. That phrase there, that sentence there is significant. If you look at us, you know, you heard about the performance-based metrics where we're compared to other SUS schools. When you compare our frontline fundraisers to even the smallest SUS schools, the Polytech Institute and the New College, they have on average 10 to 12 frontline fundraisers. We don't have that. We don't have that. Hiring additional fundraisers presents an opportunity to increase philanthropic revenue, elevate FAMU's national profile, and close the gap between donor capacity and actual contributions. We've got to generate more research. Next slide, please. The objectives: increase total annual fundraising by 25% within 3 years. Expand our donor base by 35% by engaging more alums, corporate partners, small businesses, and foundations. Small businesses are a key growth area for us. Secure 10 new major gifts annually. I mean, individuals, corporations given at least $25,000 through dedicated major gift officers. We recently brought on Marvin as our major gift officer for athletics and fundraising. So we're making a step in the right direction. And this is a significant statement. Increase donor retention rates by 15% within 2 years. Donor retention is really important. It is easier to get someone who's already given to support you than it is to find a new donor. So it is important that we increase our donor retention rate. Strengthen FAMU's fundraising infrastructure to support future capital campaigns. We've had conversations about this in terms of major capital campaigns. Currently, we don't have a structure to even discuss the capital campaign. We're not quite there yet, but hopefully we're moving in that direction. Next slide, please. Here's a proposed solution. Hire 4 new major gift officers over the next 12 months. We've hired one recently within the last couple of weeks. We need 2 more major gift officers, an annual giving coordinator, and an alumni engagement officer. We need to extend our outreach to alumni. I shared with you guys earlier about when we made the presentation to the chapter in Greenville, South Carolina, and the warm response we received. We need to do that much, much more. This team is working in tandem with existing staff to implement targeted campaigns, build relationship with high net worth individuals, and engage the broader FAMU community through outreach events and digital campaigns. We're already doing that to a certain extent, but with the limited team that we have, we can't do it on a broad base process. And that's what we're working for. Next slide. Here are our alternatives. Here's the business case and what happens if we don't do nothing. We're going to maintain the current funding staff levels, and we're going to continue to see potentially those overall funding levels decrease. There's no immediate cost, and we're going to have missed revenue opportunities, and overextended staff and stagnant donor growth. Or we can contract fundraising consultant. We can contract with fundraising consultants. That's essentially outsourcing to a third party. That will provide us with a quick ramp up. They will be professional and will have expertise, but they're going to lack the internal continuity and the institutional knowledge. So we're going to gain on one end and lose on the other. So our alternative, hire additional fundraisers, build an in-house team aligned with FAMU's culture and our mission. This is a long-term investment to build stronger donor relationships and have a higher return on investment. The upfront cost requires time and onboarding and training. And that's what Marvin is going through now. Next slide, please. Benefits, revenue growth. That's what we're talking about. That's what we need. Increased dollars, increased scholarship dollars, increased dollars for our athletic teams, increased dollars for coaches' salaries. That's what we heard earlier today. Greater alumni engagement. Greater alumni engagement. You know, our giving rate for alums right now is, I know we're going to touch on a slide that talks about this later, is 60%. 6%. 6%. And we have an alumni database of more than 70,000. 70,000. We can do better. Institutional prestige, increased major gifts, support scholarships, research, and facilities. You know about some of the research dollars that we lost earlier this year. Capacity building, a larger team improves agility, innovation in our fundraising efforts. Risk mitigations. Slow ramp up of new hires is a risk. Yeah, it's going to take a little while to get Marvin and some other team members on board, but that's a medium impact. Difficulty attracting talent. True. It takes a while to find good, competent, experienced fundraisers. It takes a while. I know the position, Marvin's position, was funded in December, as I believe. It took a while for us to find the right person for that opportunity. Uncertain return on investment timeline. That's a medium impact also. But if we establish early key performance indicators and some milestone check-in, that person is going to be on the right pace. Next slide. Here are the costs. First year, salary and benefits, roughly $500,000. Training, traveling. I know we have Marvin signed up for a couple of training opportunities with Case coming up in the next few weeks.